Jovita Marlina. I'm the Senior Growth Manager for Turnitin. And I based in Indonesia, and but my team is in Philippines and in Indonesia. And in Philippines, I have two beautiful ladies with me. So there is Miss Nina, and another one is Miss Rose. And Miss Nina is the one that who will present as the presenter today. And I'm very happy that I have a chance to say hi to all of our customers. And thank you for joining and thank you for the registration. So three of us here will go through the similarity report and how we are going to interpreting the similarity report. So Miss Nina will explain it in details, while me and Miss Rose will be standby here. And if you have any questions, you can put it up in the Q&A icon that you can see on the right side, bottom right side. And okay, I think this kind of event is going to be a quarterly basis that we're gonna have as for free as our service for our customers, specifically in Philippines, to give more details and about how to interpret the similarity report. I believe some of you here already using our platform quite some times, but we need to refresh and we need to make sure that if you have any questions as well, then you can ask anytime. Just put it in the Q&A box and enjoy the session. So I'm gonna hand it over to Miss Nina. Please, Miss Nina.
Okay, so thank you so much, Ms. Yavita, for that introduction. Okay, so once again, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to your instructor's workflow training provided by Turnitin Philippines. Okay, we will be focusing on how can we interpret the similarity report. So, well, my name is Nina. Okay, I'm pretty sure that some of you are familiar with me, okay, already, because we have been training for quite some time already. And well, okay, as mentioned, okay, by our manager, okay, Miss Jovita Marlina, okay, Miss Rose Crisostomo, your account manager, will also be joining in and will also be helping me out in answering your queries that you will be posting in our Q&A panel. Please advise that all audience members are muted by default for the main presentation. And well, as I always say, okay, if you have any questions or clarifications about the specific sections, please feel free to key in your question in our Q&A panel. Okay, and of course, okay, we are recording this session, so at least if in case that you will be needing the copy of this recording, we can provide that to you after the session today. All right, so for starters, let's talk about the classroom workflow training session agenda. Okay, for today, we will be learning how can we define plagiarism, academic misconduct, and the difference between plagiarism and text similarity, because it's very important for us to understand that as well. We will recognize expected similarities and the factors that increase expected similarity. We will also understand which processes to follow if plagiarism is detected in one submission. We will utilize Turnitin as a formative tool to improve writing outcomes. And of course, we will try to identify plagiarism in a similarity report. And if needed, we will apply feedback and grading to our students' work. Okay, so we got a lot of things to cover today, and I think that we have to start with our session about plagiarism. So, well, the Merriam-Webster Online Dictionary defines to plagiarize as to steal and pass off the ideas, words of another as one's own. It is also said that it is basically to use, okay, one's or another's production without crediting the source. We also have the description wherein it says to commit literally theft, or to present as new and original idea or product derived from an existing source. Well, to bring it all together, it's essentially when someone presents another ideas as their own. But there is actually a difference between plagiarism and text similarity. Okay, so before we moved on, okay, with our similarity report, it's definitely important for us to understand those differences. As we discussed plagiarism, okay, so, well, plagiarism is when someone presents the ideas or words of another as one's own, or uses another production or uses another's production without crediting the source. Whereas text similarity, on the other hand, is when the ideas or words of another are present in one's work. Well, it's important to know this difference because Turnitin, okay, as you can see in here, we show text similarity or highlight when text within a document matches to text or content that is already in our databases. It is not a plagiarism detection tool itself, as I always say in my training. It is up to us and an instructor to determine if the matching text is plagiarism or something else that might be acceptable. So when similarity report is generated, you will then be able to see these highlighted matching. Now, as mentioned, it is up to you to decide whether the matching that you are seeing are acceptable or not. So if it's acceptable, you can surely exclude or do the exclusion right after checking. If we look at the sample passage of text, we can see that there are highlighting, okay, or we can see that there is highlighting over some other phrases, okay. It is simply showing us, okay, as instructors that the text is similar, and we would have to use our own judgment to determine if it is plagiarism or something else. Okay, so moving on. What content does Turnitin check against for text similarity? So what is the Turnitin standard content databases? So whenever you are hearing us talking about the repository options or the content databases of Turnitin, we are talking about these three standard databases. So what happens to submission is that Turnitin will compare the text in a student's work content to content that exists in three databases that we have. So the first one is what we call the student paper repository, which helps to check that students are copying from one another. This database built up for more than 1.4 billion paper submissions, and there's a really high chance that our system will be able to detect if the students' papers are colluding with each other. And the second is what we call the current and archive internet, which has indexed for over 91 billion current and archive web pages. And finally, we have the journals and publications. Turnitin has partnership with the top publishers around the globe, granting us access to their content for the purpose of detecting text similarity. And as of this time, we have more than 170 million journals and publication in this database. And 90% of those are high impact journals. So what are some of the things that would be expected to appear as a similarity match that aren't plagiarism? Maybe a lot of us have that kind of questions already, or do have that kind of question already. So what is acceptable? Okay, what is not? So in here, okay, I'm citing quotes. If a student has quoted correctly, we would expect there to be a similarity match for sure over the text of the quote, because the text should match word for word from the source. Of course, the student should also put the text in quotation marks to indicate that it is a quote, and also provide a citation for like where they have sourced the quote from. And it's really necessary to do that. Now, if your student has done that properly, definitely the quotes are expected similarity and can be is acceptable and can be excluded from the similarity report. We also have what we call the references and citations. So if a reference has a highlighted match in the similarity report, it means that the references has been written as is somewhere else before. This could be the bottom of the website or another student's paper. We also have what we call the commonly known facts or common facts. Some sentences or ideas can only be paraphrased in certain ways. So just like what I always say in my training, Manila is the capital of the Philippines. There's not too many ways we could present that information. Using word, like basically using those words. And there could be another 500, 1,000 students across the globe that have used that string of words in their essay or in their research or writing. Well, it's still a common fact. So we wouldn't need to provide a citation there either. And as mentioned, okay, it's up to you to decide whether what you are seeing is an acceptable similarity or not. Well, if it's acceptable and you really think that that is a common fact, or let's say a basic vocabulary jargon or a basic phrase, you can surely accept that as acceptable similarity. Another one is the essay question. So if 10 students in your class add the essay question, okay, or like the assignment direction, okay, we can say that as well, at the top of their essay, each of 10 students are going to have a match with each other because the text in each is the same. Okay, it's like what we call the templated material. So students obviously haven't plagiarized or colluded with each other, but because the text is the same, it will still show as a matched anyway. Naturally, all of these expected similarities would increase the similarity score. So definitely, as mentioned, when you're running the paper, these are the things that you can really expect to find similarity matches with. Okay, moving forward. Okay, so well, there are also factors that may increase or decrease the expected text similarity of a document or a research work. And it mainly relates to the type of task you're giving to your students. As we always say, there is no definitive number in a similarity percentage. Okay, and well, this is something that we have to consider when it comes to checking our students' work. We can say that the rigor of task will have a weight on the expected similarity score of our students' work, including how much task should be original ideas versus how much existing evidence should be included. So we have to consider those things as well. Of course, and the source excerpt quoted and cited properly. Another one is what we call the genre of writing. So the genre of writing will also play a part in expected similarity score. And it is something that you have to check as well. Okay, so like in academic genres of writing, like analysis or argument, okay, as I've mentioned in my slide, we expect students to use evidence to support their positions, thereby increasing the expected text similarity. Even assessments can have appropriate text similarity too. Okay, so like we have to consider if students are working from shared definitions or well-known facts. If this common language has shaped their understanding of a specific concept that we are talking about, then a certain degree of similarity is to be expected in their answers. So if we think about an academic research essay, we would be expecting it to be well researched. We should expect a lot of quotes, a lot of evidences, etc. that may naturally increase the similarity score. So it all boils down to the nature of the assignment, as I always mention in my training. So if we compare that to a narrative or a personal reflection, like an assignment wherein we are asking our students to provide 100% original thoughts or ideas, we would be expecting a bulk, or if not at all, like the students' word will be using their own words and ideas and thoughts. So something like this would have a lower similarity score. So even in a piece of work can be a factor in, or the length of piece of work can be a factor in a similarity. As the length of an essay increases, this provides students more opportunity to include their own ideas. They don't have to look for a lot of sources because they really, some point in time, okay, like while they are doing the process of their writing, they have to input a lot of their original ideas as well. Okay, therefore, as the percentage of the document, okay, and the use of ideas could be lower, okay, than the expected similarity report. Now, what another thing, okay, while these demands naturally lead to higher percentage, like what I mentioned in here, okay, they also increase the potential of intentional or unintentional plagiarism. And it is something that we have to find out. So let's have a look at an example, okay, that I have prepared and talk about similarity scores. Because as what we always say, lower score is not always an indicator of a better essay. And I'm pretty sure that a lot of instructors in this session have identified that as well. Okay, so well, here are the two examples of two different reports. The example on the left, there you go, is only one, like shows only one match. Okay, and the score is 5%. The match is not in a quotation marks and does not provide any citation. Therefore, we can make an assumption that this one is plagiarism. We call this one a word for word plagiarism, or in some academic community, we also dub this one as a direct plagiarism. The example on the right, okay, however, okay, hold on for a second so that I can indicate this. There you go. Okay, now in the sample on the right, if you will notice, it shows the number of matches. And the similarity score is basically 30%, as you can see. So if you will just try to look at the both two images and just by simply looking at the similarity score, it's possible that one instructor might think that the 30% is more of a plagiarized work compared to 5%. However, if we investigate the matches, we can see that the matches in the right paper is more legitimate, or is all legitimate. There are matches over quotes, okay? And most other matches contains the citation. So as you can see in here, okay, we matched in an essay question, okay? And also, okay, we also are matching back to what we call the citation. So in this portion, we can tell that the student actually or properly cited a specific portion of their own work. Okay. Another one is we can also see there you go. Okay. We can also find the common fact. Okay. So here we can see the apples are a good source of nutrition. Well, basically it's a common fact, and there is no other way for us to there are very limited ways to paraphrase that sentence. So we can say that this one is an acceptable similarity matching. And of course, okay, we also have what we call the quote. So if the student was able to do the citation of these quotes properly, then we can also expect that this one is acceptable. Another one is we have what we call unable to paraphrase, but they have included a citation. So this one can also be accepted as a legitimate similarity matching. Okay, so this can be matches that may have been unintentional. Okay, so and perhaps, okay, if we would want to cite or give some comments to our students about these type of information, we can just use our grading and feedback tools to enhance the writing work of our students. Okay, also, we have what we call the reference list. So if we look back at the similarity score for each two examples that I've shown, okay, that I'm showing right now, even though the paper on the right had a higher score than the paper on the left, the paper on the right is actually a better quality piece of work. I think you will definitely agree, and does not contain any plagiarism. Whereas the paper on the left is not well researched or informed and actually contains plagiarism than the paper with a higher score. it is important to understand that students will often ask you, what score should I get? Okay, I'm pretty sure that a lot of us have experienced that. And a lot of our students are really asking like, okay, what is the threshold? Because I normally have that kind of question in my trainings. Okay, however, what we can say, okay, is that students should never be encouraged to aim for 0. Doing so leads students to engage in cheating behaviors, which open up more problems, concerns for you than them. Because as you can see in the sample similarity report that we are showing, they intend to just copy paste a lot of materials and not to really work hard for their own piece of work. If the student asks you this time, what score should I get? We recommend okay, setting an expected similarity score or range. Well, I believe that a lot of institutions do have their own proper threshold. And still, as mentioned, it's up to the instructor to decide whether what you think is an acceptable standard or not. So, of course, you have to follow the academic guidelines that you may have in your respective institution. Okay, like for example, as you need to include quotes, okay, like let's say you are having this kind of dialogue with your student, like you will be adding references, you will be adding citation. I would expect you to get a score around 10 to 20%. So that's just an estimate. So again, it varies depending on institution and depending on every instructors that we have in the session. Okay, so what we always say, similarity score is not a determination of plagiarism, because that decision is deemed only, okay, or that decision can only be made after you carefully examine the work of your student, and once you have checked it and it's done properly, and you can surely do the exclusion of the content that you think is acceptable. And definitely afterwards, clarity report that you will be seeing after exclusion is a more accurate score. Okay, so there we go. Moving forward. Okay, how can we put all of these things into practice? So we have already defined plagiarism, and we already defined the similarity matches. And what are the best approach, or what are the things that we can do when we are seeing the similarity score? So how can we do that? Okay, or put that into practice when looking at the student submission. Up on the screen, okay, that I'm showing right now is a suggested workflow to follow. Well, it is a suggested workflow. It's up to you to decide whether you would want to follow this one or not. So what we recommend is the first thing is that you would have to open a student submission, and first is to check the document flags. Okay. If it contains document flags, it will definitely determine if your student engaged in a cheating behavior with the purpose of evading plagiarism. So document flags, if some of you may know, okay, or maybe we do have new users in here, document flags are actually indication that cheating is taking place in your student's paper, or the student has an intention to cheat. Okay. So, and we will look through at a specific document flags shortly. Now, if they have, okay, if you found a document flags, I have to stop as an instructor and consult my academic integrity policy. Academic integrity policy in every institution varies. So there is no, like Turnitin will not be giving you the standard integrity policy that you have to follow. And if you do have questions about that, feel free to reach out to your respective academic integrity team. Basically, we can also reach out to our Turnitin administrator to know more about those information. Okay, well, if not, if you're not seeing any flags, move on to check quotes. Okay, quotes and references. All right. Next to that, okay, now if I am satisfied that they were, okay, like all the quotes of my students are all good, I have to turn on my quote and references exclusion. This is the time that I am deciding that all the similarity matches in quotes and references are done properly. So definitely as an instructor, you have your own direction. You have your own instruction to your students, or like what format to follow. Okay. So if that would be the case, then I will turn on the references and quote exclusion. This will hide any similarity matches over quotes and references in the document, so that then I can focus on the other parts that I think can be very problematic. Okay. So as you can see in here in my my graph, we have yes or no. So the next one would be your things to follow, or your process to follow. However, if I determine something that there was unintentional plagiarism, such as missing citation in my students' work, I would leave some formative feedback and instructional guidance using the feedback tools in basically in Turnitin Feedback Studios. So maybe some here are not so that when some of us similarity so the Turnitin or even I think with regards to the works or the Turnitin products that you may have, we can okay, apologies everyone. I think I had some internet concerns. Okay. Okay, I will just try to share my screen once again, and once again apologies on that. Okay. So I might be turning off my video so that at least we will not have any issues with the connection as we move along. Okay. So I hope that everybody can see what I'm sharing in my screen right now. Okay. Okay, there you go. So let me see. I think I saw in the workflow that I'm recommending. Okay, to flow. Okay, when it comes to checking their student. As mentioned, let me see. Okay, so there we go. Such as missing citation. I would basically leave some formative feedback and instructional guidance to use the feedback. Okay, use the feedback tools. However, feedback tools are not available for our for the similarity and originality products that we have. Okay, it is only available for Feedback Studio users. Next, if I determine something was intentional, let's say false references or somehow altered quotes, okay, or let's say word for word copy and paste without a proper citation, next thing that I have to do is to consult the academic integrity policy of your institution for your further guidance. And then, okay, I can continue grading and feedback as per usual. Okay. So there you go. It's basically the same. So I'm checking the other match, and you just have to determine if it's an intentional plagiarism or unintentional plagiarism. And as I always say, okay, you really have to consult the academic integrity policy in your institution so that you will be more, you will be guided accordingly. Okay. What I'm going to do now is I will go straight to a specific similarity report that I have done so that we can see what are the things that we should expect, okay, when we are checking our students' work. I'm pretty sure that a lot of you are have seen similarity report already. And let me just try to click on this one. And maybe some of us are having some questions regarding the similarity report itself. Okay. Now, okay. So I hope that everybody can see the screen that I'm sharing, or the sample similarity report that I'm sharing as of this time. And let me just refresh this one for the time being. Okay. Okay. Okay, thank you so much for the confirmation. So let's talk about the screen familiarization. All right. So what about that one? Let's focus on the tools that you can see when you are checking the similarity report. So the first one is the student's name. Okay. And the submission title. At the top page, okay, or moving across the top, you can see the maximum score if you're providing any. Okay, please note, okay, for the rest of the attendees, we are navigating the sample similarity report in Feedback Studio Access. Okay, this may not be the same as what similarity report you are seeing, okay, in your similarity, Turnitin similarity product or the originality product. But since the similarity product and originality product is basically straightforward, though the treatment of similarity report is basically the same. So ang focus po for today is more on interpreting, or how can we interpret the similarity report. Okay, so next to that, okay, is we can also find in this document viewer what we call the help icon in the upper right hand side of the screen. And in the left-hand side, you can find what we call the toggle page navigation. This is very helpful if in case that we are talking about submissions with multiple pages. At the bottom of the screen, you can see the page count and the word count. We may also find, opposite to that is the text-only report, high resolution toggle, and you can zoom the paper in and out. In the right-hand side of the screen, you can find all the tools that are available specifically for users who are using Turnitin Feedback Studio. We do have what we call the first layers. Okay, we have the grading, the similarity tool. Let me uncheck this box, and the eraser. So we will try to check this one and activate, make sure that everything is activated before we download the similarity report shortly. Okay. So all the grading tools are all in blue. Similarity tools are all in red. And the eraser is actually in purple. And in the middle portion, well, what you can see is a sample of a student submission. Okay, so it is exactly the same formatting and including any images that the student included in their document. So remember earlier, I mentioned that the first thing to look for in your student's work is the evidence of known cheat methods to try to prevent the plagiarism detection. So we do this, the document flags. Okay. So flag is actually the first icon in the right hand. Okay. Apologies, the technical concerns that we may be experiences that you are not hearing me clearly or you're not seeing anything on my screen. Thank you so much. So moving forward, okay. I will just click on this document flags, okay, or this icon in here. However, if this icon displays one flag or two flags, you should click it to analyze the evidence of suspected cheating. There you go. When I click on that, it will automatically open up the report in the right-hand side. Now it says here that there are two attempts to throw off similarity detection. We have the hidden text or the replace characters. Let's talk about replace characters for now. Replace characters is when students replace characters from our Latin alphabet with characters from other alphabets that look identical to our human eye. Okay, so when I turn this on, okay, it will now display, okay, the replace characters that can be found in your student submission. So it says here that we have 39 Cyrillic characters. Cyrillic is an alphabet similar to Greek, used in Russian characters. So basically what you are seeing, the letter E, okay, that has been flagged, or even the letter Y, okay, we might think that these are American alphabet letter E or letter Y, but they're not. They are basically Cyrillic characters. So Turnitin will highlight replace characters with a red box and indicate that the alphabets have been detected. As a cheat method, this is no longer successfully circumvents plagiarism detection, as Turnitin automatically swap these characters out when scanning a submission. However, we still flag this behavior for you to make you aware of the intention of your students to cheat. So definitely, this is something that we have to raise our concern, depending on the academic integrity process that you may have in your institution. You can, I believe that it varies in institution per institution. So it might be something that you have to raise, or something that you will talk to your students first and sort it out on your own. Next to that, okay, is the hidden text. When I turned on the hidden text, it will now display all the hidden text that can be found in your student's work. This is when students insert additional characters into document by using white text on a white background. The hidden text, it text red and replace a red box around it, as you can see in here. Okay. So students actually are doing this so that they will be able to meet the requirements, let's say the word count or character requirement that you may have in your assignment or in your tasks. As you can see, we do have here a sample of a hidden quotation mark, letters in between words, as these letters are expected to create a new string of text that may not be able to detect similarity report. You may also find, okay, some replace characters that are hidden too, and even sentences or even phrases or paragraphs. Okay. Now, you may be asking, why are students using quotation marks or hidden quotation marks? So as you can see, I do have excessive use of quotation marks. And these are the things that are intended by a student to pass over section where assignments or your assignments are actually set to exclude quotation marks. If you can remember whether you are using Feedback Studio, Similarity, or Originality platform, there is a way for an educator, for an instructor to exclude quotation marks when you're creating an assignment. Now, if you have done that, and we have, or the students submitted these, the work with hidden quotation marks or hidden, like excessive use of hidden quotation marks, all of these portions in here will not be included in the similarity report. And definitely they will have lower scores in the report. And well, that is their intention. So that's why it is something that you have to check first prior to do any exclusion. Now, okay, having the quotes exclusion turned off by default will, as mentioned, will prevent any cheat methods from working. You can definitely turn on the exclusion after, okay, you have checked the document flags as well as you have checked the matches over quoted materials as well. Okay. All right, so that is how flags work. This time, okay, I will switch to another submission created by another or submitted by another student. Okay, and there you go. As you can see in this second submission, okay, let me check. Okay, there are some people who might not be able to hear me well, though I'm not sure if the connection is unstable on both sides. I'm just seeing few people sharing that they are not seeing my screen. Please give me a heads up if my screen is not frozen. Okay, so thank you for the confirmation. Okay, so I think there are some portions that are not really okay in some portion, in some or different parts of the Philippines somehow. So hopefully everything will be okay in your end, though I will be sharing the copy of this recording if you missed some portions, okay, of the session. Okay, so moving forward, I'm already in one submission created by another student, and this time I am not actually seeing any flags. So what is the next thing that I have to do? Since I'm not seeing any flags, you can move to analyzing the similarity matches. Okay, and it's really good because you're not seeing flags. So it means to say that there are no detection, or I mean, there are no similarity detection involved. Plagiarism detection. I mean, there are no intentional plagiarism involved or students trying to circumvent the plagiarism check. Okay. However, okay, before I move on to the to another submission without flags, okay, I think I have to also inform a lot of our educators in here that it is important to note that these two flags can throw false positives. So it is important that you analyze any text that is highlighted by this tool. You should not automatically assume that just because the flag shows a number, let's say we found number 1 or number 2, the student already has the intention to plagiarize. Okay. So you have to check it further. So everything that you are seeing in the similarity report needs to be assessed further or investigate further. Okay. Now I'll just go back to the next slide or the next document. Okay. So the similarity score is a percentage of submission that is matching to a content in Turnitin's repositories. So when I turn on number 61 in here, it will open up the match overview in the right-hand side. Okay, note that what you are seeing is a dummy report. Okay, it's not a real paper. So I've just done this one just to show you different types of a possible plagiarism that students can do these days, and how will you be able to interact it or interpret it when you're checking their similarity reports. We do have 61% in here. Okay, so as mentioned, this could be made up of expected similarity matches, acceptable use of another author's words, as well as plagiarism. It is up to me to use my academic judgment to determine if these matches are acceptable or if they indicate plagiarism. Okay, again, similarity score is not a determination of any plagiarism. That decision is something that you have to do as an instructor. So again, if you are seeing some matches that you think are acceptable, you might just wanted to remove that, okay, or exclude that from the similarity report. And definitely this overall similarity percentage will be recalculated and you will have an accurate score afterwards. Okay, now another thing. Okay, so when you click on the similarity score, okay, here, it will open up the small matches in the right hand side with the small similarity percentage. And also, it will highlight the words that we can find in our content databases. These words are not plagiarized automatically. These are the word for word matches that can be found in our content databases. Okay. So the first thing, I recommend checking any quotes and a reference list, as these elements can be both excluded from the similarity score once I confirm they have been added correctly. So first, flags, check the flags. If there are no flags, then we can start checking out those expected similarity matches such as quotes and bibliography. Okay, in this portion in here, we can see that I do have a quote. Right? It's a quoted phrase or a quoted paragraph. This shows a similarity match, but because it has been correctly attributed, I have determined that this cannot be a plagiarism. So what I can do is I can click on this highlighted match. So as you can see, each highlighted match has a corresponding number. And these numbers are attributed to a source we can find in the match overview. When I click on the number, okay, this will open up the source box, okay, and it will show you the original source from that specific material. Okay, and as mentioned, if you think that the student did well in her in the content of her quotes or his or her quotes, you can do the exclusion of quotes straight after. However, in my second paragraph, okay, I have a quote here that does not include any citation. In this instance, rather than proceed with the disciplinary action, I will choose, as an instructor, I will choose to leave a feedback for the student, as I believe that this one can be an unintentional plagiarism. So, well, it will highlight the text, or what I'm gonna do is I will basically highlight the text. There you go. And select the text bubble and leave a comment to my student. So it can either be like, please provide a citation for this specific quoted material. Okay, so again, it's up to you to decide whether you think this one is an acceptable similarity matching or not, or or you want your student to correct the concerns or issues that you found in their own work. Okay. Next to that, okay, is we have the next paragraph. Okay. Well, we can say that if this one is correctly attributed, but you can see a break in between or a break in the similarity highlighting, I can click on the match, okay? And I can now compare the student submission to the detected match, paying careful attention to the word that has been changed. Okay, well, we are matching back to a paper submitted in another university in here. Okay, just to note, just to give a heads up to everybody that we are not providing any information of any submissions made in other institution or to other institution. So you don't have to worry like, okay, I might match to another institution. Will they be able to see my paper? No, we are not providing any of those information to any institution. So that's why we are seeing something like this. In this sample paper that I've done, I'm matching back to a paper submitted in Far Eastern University. Now, it's up to me to decide whether I think this one is acceptable, since what you're seeing is just a breaking match. And I can consider this one as a commonly known wording or a common phrase. Though, if I still want to see the paper submitted in that institution, I can simply click the institution's name and send a request to view the paper. That institution can definitely say yes or no to that. And please note that this can only take place in Feedback Studio environment. For originality and similarity users, you will not have this function wherein you can send a request to view the paper. But it's up to you to decide whether you can just simply exclude that match or not directly. Okay. Another thing to note here is, okay, let me just select number 1 this time. Okay. And I'm matching back to content, okay, I found in wikipedia.org. So we could say that, or we can pay more attention to the word that has been, that has matched in the content from Wikipedia. So it's either like it can be a mistake, or the student may have manipulated the information or code in purpose, or it is basically a copy-pasted material. Okay. And of course, the second one is a word for word or direct plagiarism. So you can surely inspect or investigate that further by clicking on the number and see the original text or the original source with where it has come from. And of course, this one is unacceptable, specifically if it's not well attributed by your student. So again, it's up to your standard or the standard of academic integrity that you may have in your institution. Okay. The next one, okay, what I'm gonna do is I will go straight to what we call the references. Okay. So in the references, we should expect a rainbow of colors here. And well, okay, if you are seeing references that are completely acceptable and properly done by your student, you may have exclude the whole bibliography in your student submission. And definitely all of these portion will not be included in the similarity score. However, if your entire reference list is just in one color, just like what I have in here, you might just wanted to check where is it matching. Okay, if you are seeing that it has been totally copy pasted in one specific web portal or one specific source, the student may have copied and pasted that just from that source. And definitely you might want to talk to your student about that, or provide a necessary instruction or guidance so that your student will be able to improve their work. What about if the source is completely highlighted? What does that mean? If the source is completely highlighted, this could mean that the source is already in Turnitin's database. And as mentioned, if your student has done it properly, you can do the exclusion of quotes, the references or bibliography right after. But before doing so, make sure that there are no sources that are not highlighted at all. Okay. Because sources with no highlights could only mean 3 things. First, the student was not able to do the citation correctly. And it is something that you can use our formative tools so that you can provide feedback and the student can correct it and submit it again. Second, the source may not be in our Turnitin's database yet. Having said that, you may just wanted to reach out to any of our Turnitin teams so that we can include that source and in our content database so that you can match that source right away. Third, the source is not a real one. If that would be the case, then you might want to talk to your student about creating sham or fake sources, just like what I have in here, so that you will know what would be the next action that you have to take in finding out the truth about the work of your student. But once you have checked everything, okay, once you have checked all of your students' work, and let's say the quotes and bibliography are all good, what I can do as an instructor is I will go straight to the filters and icon here. And it's time for me to do the exclusion. So, okay. So I will be excluding quotes and excluding bibliography. So I have excluded quotes and bibliography this time, and I click on apply changes. And from 61%, I am now down to 50%. If you will notice, all of those quotation marks are expected to be highlighted, or removed from the overall similarity score. So don't get confused about this portion, because we actually use the grading as well. So there you go. Let me just unclick the grading. Okay. So let me see. Okay. All right. So the quotes that you can find in this submission will automatically be excluded, and including perhaps the hidden quotation marks. So if I will switch to my previous submission and I have excluded quotation mark as well. Okay, from here, from 52%, now I'm down to 43%. So that is what happens when you do the exclusion. So even the hidden quotation marks, or even the fake vocabulary will also, fake bibliography will also be excluded automatically. Okay. Now, okay, the next thing that I'm gonna do is, okay, hold on for a second. Let me see this one. Okay. Okay. Next, there's a match to the assignment topic, or let's say there's a match in some portion, okay, of the assignment. We can say that this is not plagiarism. So specifically in this topic, like intramuros, okay? So basically this is a basic and known fact. So I'm not concerned about this match. It is important that I tell my students not to be concerned about such matches as well, so that they will be guided accordingly. Because I'm pretty much sure that some students are actually panicking because they are seeing a lot of similarity matches in their own work. And it is something that we can assure to them that this is not really relevant at all in your overall similarity. Okay, so I can actually exclude the source from similarity matching. However, this may then match to other source. And so what I can do is just simply ignore this one. Okay. In some portions as well, I might have some highlighted matching, okay, or some small highlighted matching. So what I can do this time is, like, if I think that these are acceptable similarity matching, okay, I can go straight to my filters and settings and do the exclusion of certain number of words. Okay. So what happens here in the filters and setting, like exclusion of sources with or less than or equal to the number of words, is that when you identify a number of words or a number of percentage matched in here, when Turnitin found a source with that with the equal or less than or equal to the number of words that you will put in there, we will automatically remove the match. So for example, whatever you, the standard, there is no such thing as standard in the exclusion of small similarity matching actually. So whether you think it is 10 word match or 15 word match, that should be okay. So that's what I'm gonna do. I will exclude 15 words There you go. And apply changes. So by right, Turnitin will automatically exclude source matching, okay, with 15 or less than 15 number of word similarity match that we can find in the text. Okay. So as you can see, we are now down to 5 sources in the match overview. And I think, okay, and we have 43% this time. And this could be a more accurate score after exclusion. Okay. And there you go. So basically, we can say that everything is all good in my own submission. But you might be asking, okay, why is that I'm seeing small text similarity, but still it is not excluded? What's the possible reason? If you will notice, we have here number 1 in my last paragraph. But when I click on this number 1, I am matching back to wikipedia.org for 18%. And when I click on that, okay, and I click on this book icon that I can see in the box or source box, it will now show you all the matching text matched in that specific source. And you can see that they are more than 15. So that's why they are not totally excluded. Okay, there you go. Okay, so there's also a way for you to see those matching texts, okay, by clicking on the all sources view. All sources view will show you the number of times a particular source matched in the paper. So basically, it says here that 32% of this specific submission is matching back to a paper submitted in an institution. Okay, there you go. And it's up to me to decide whether I think this matching, okay, this matching text is some sort of an acceptable collaboration from a student in that university. So, well, collaboration or collaboration based on the similarity matches can also be an acceptable similarity matching. So as I always say, it's up to the instructor to decide whether they think the match that they are seeing is acceptable or not. And if they think it's acceptable or not relevant at all, they can do the exclusion right after. So I can actually do that by clicking on exclude sources, select the source, and exclude. I won't match back to that paper anymore, but still we are getting some matches in wikipedia.org. And when I click on this portion in here, there you go. Okay. All right. So another thing, okay, so there you go. So that is the similarity report. Now let's have a look at some grading tools that we can use when we are using the Feedback Studio tools. So I have just shown you the bubble comments on how can we add that to our student submission. Okay, there you go. And the next thing, okay, let me just check and uncheck the similarity this time. Okay. Okay. Okay, apologies on this because I have uploaded this paper with highlights or the different colors of highlights already. So that's why we are seeing some highlights even if we are not supposed to be seeing some. Okay, so this time, okay, let me just talk about the strike through. Okay, so just like before, okay, I'm going to click and drag to highlight the text. Let's say I'm going to be highlighting this portion. Okay, and then click on the strike through. So if you would want to remove, of course, okay, a specific portion of your student's work, that's possible in here. And you can do that straight away from the similarity report. Now, okay, we can click and drag one specific submission. So allow me to select this portion in here with a highlighted pink. Okay, I'm gonna click on that. Okay, or so that we won't be confused. Apologies on this. Okay, I will just move to another submission earlier. There you go. Okay, so that we will not be confused with those quite kind of highlights. So right now, I am going to highlight one specific portion of my students' work, and I will be adding the quick marks. Quick mark is this box with a check mark, and which will provide you sets that can be used in leaving comments to your students' work. So there are actually type of comments that we can use over and over again. So instead of typing them every time, we can use quick marks. Okay, so we do have our own sets in here that you can use and choose. And also you can create your own quick mark sets if you want to. So I have created mine. There you go. And I can somehow select the one that I always use for my students' work. Let's say vague. There you go. So we do have description of quick marks in here, and I can leave comments to my students' work straight away. Click away and it will automatically be saved, and everything will also be recorded in the Similarity report. Quick marks can also be found in the upper right-hand side of the screen, wherein you can you can select the sets that you may have, okay, or you may want to use, or you can actually create your quick marks by clicking on this cog icon in here. Okay. We also have what we call the text icon in the Feedback Studio. So click anywhere and you can see the letter T. You can leave the comment or feedback to your students' work, and it's like you're typing straight away in their submission. However, okay, if you're not into providing or if you're finished, okay, providing feedback in your student submission or in portions of your student submission, what you can do now is to provide an overall comment by clicking on this feedback summary icon, wherein you can leave a voice comment up to 3 minutes long, also as a text comment that can be also added when you download the report. Finally, okay, we do have what we call the rubrics. By clicking on the rubric button, this will show you the rubric that has 2 views. What you are seeing right now is what we call the speedy view. So it's a traditional form of rubric that we have. And all you have to do is to drag it to your desired score, and it will surely provide information below. Okay. So for rubrics, you are expected to actually create or match the style of rubric that you are using in your institution. So you might just wanted to upload the rubric that you are using internally, or simply create one on your own. Make sure that you are clicking on the cog icon so that you can identify or you can create the rubric or grading forms depending on the assignment that you have set to your student. Okay, moving forward, we also have the ETSE rater. ETSE rater, once again, is available for Feedback Studio users. And when you click on that, it will automatically check, okay, your students' work for grammar and spelling errors. This will reveal each mistakes on the students' work. Okay, so basically you won't be able to see quite a lot of things in here because, well, basically most of these are copy paste, okay, coming from one because, well, it's a dummy paper. And to view the mistake, once you have detected one, all you have to do is to click on that, okay, or that sample or e-rater feedback, and it will provide you an information. ETSE rater is not a fix and click system, okay? It will not provide your student an automatic answer, or it will not provide your student, like it will not change a misspelled word instantly. Once you view the mistake, okay, this box here will appear wherein you can see some information and you have an access to the handbook. As an instructor, you can also add a comment, and also you can choose to dismiss the mark if you think that this is not really relevant or you are not agreeing with the flags that we are putting in here. Okay, so there you go. Last but not the least, okay, it's time for us to download the report. So what I'm gonna do is I will go to the active layers, click on grading and the similarity, as well as the e-rater, and select the download icon. Make sure that you are downloading the report by clicking on the current view for ETS e-rater. For Feedback Studio users. However, as for Similarity tool users and then Originality tool users, all you have to do is to click on the download or print icon, and it will automatically be downloaded or saved as a PDF file. Okay, so it's automatically in PDF file in general. So I'm downloading the report right now. Okay. So while we are preparing to download, okay, I also would want to you to access, okay, the information icon. So information icon can also be available to our users using Similarity tools, or I mean the Similarity product and then the Originality product. This will provide you the submission ID number, which is always important. And note that these are always unique for every submissions made in Turnitin. So whether you are submitting it in Similarity report, or I mean Similarity product, Originality product, or Feedback Studio product, submission ID is always unique, and it is important if in case that you have issues about your submissions and you want to raise your concern to your Turnitin administrator or to our Turnitin support team. Okay. Now, when I click on the PDF file, okay, so there you go. You might also be able to see a lot of information about that Similarity report, including the similarity or the similarity matches with all the tools that you have just turned on earlier. So the ETS e-rater feedback, as well as your overall feedback, is also included in here. And definitely, this will be a very helpful tool if in case that you need to contact your or to talk to your student about their work, as well as to your Turnitin academic heads if there's a need for them to investigate further. Okay. What I'm gonna show, okay, we are actually done with our navigation of the Feedback Studio or the Similarity report interpretation. Okay, and now, okay, what I'm gonna do is to access, okay, our help guides. Okay, allow me to reshare my screen once again, and I think it would be best for me to go straight to our help guide. So if in case that there's a need for you to know more information about the interpretation of the Similarity report, or basically you just want to know more information about your current workflow, all you have to do is to go straight to help.turnitin.com. There you go. And as mentioned, okay, we do have quite a lot of products, okay, in Turnitin. We have the Feedback Studio, okay, which has the grading and feedback tools. So I'm pretty sure that a lot of users are using Feedback Studio as well in this session. We also have what we call the Turnitin Originality, and we have users as well in the session using this one, and I'm seeing them in the attendees for today. And also the Turnitin Similarity. Whatever product that you may have, okay, all you have to do is to select the respective product that you are using and go straight to the Similarity report. I could say that the interpretation of Similarity report on different products that we have in Turnitin is pretty much the same. We are still asking instructors to determine or to assess the similarity matches that they are seeing. And it's up to their judgment whether they would want to exclude those information as they think they are relevant, or it's more of like an unintentional form of plagiarism, and they can just guide their student on how to improve their writing on their own. Okay. So, and there you go. And I'm actually right now checking. Okay, we got quite a lot of questions, okay, in our Q&A panel. And thank you so much, Miss Rose, for attending to those questions, and Miss Yavita. Okay, let me just quickly show, okay, the quick start guide that we have in Feedback Studio environment. So allow me to stop share for the time being. Okay, and show you our help guides. So to get help in Feedback, not just in Feedback Studio, but in Turnitin, okay, all you have to do is to access and find the instructor quick start guide in your respective product. So also, okay, as I showed earlier, go straight to the help.turnitin.com. And if you have any questions or any concerns relating to your product or to the generation of similarity report, please notify or contact your institution's administrator, and they can surely provide more information about it. Specifically, if we're talking about the standard academic guidelines in your institution. Please note that in Turnitin, we cannot really impose any guidelines that you may use, as every institution guidelines varies depending on the institution's preference, of course. You can also get in touch with us with Turnitin Professional Services, and that is me, Ms. Rose Crisostomo, and Ms. Yuvita Marlina, and for sure, we will be gladly to help you out with a lot of issues or concerns that you may have. Okay. All right. So, well, that brings up, okay, or us to the end of our session today. I would like to thank you all for joining. And as a reminder, okay, we can surely provide you the recording of today's session, as well as the various links, okay, in our that I have shown. Okay, sure. This time. Okay. So I will just check on the Q&A panel that we have. Maybe we have missed some questions that were left unanswered. Okay, I just got one in here. Okay, there is a question coming from Ms. Cristal Marie Punzalan. Is it recommended to include the list of references in research work in the plagiarism similarity test? Most journals or article of resource now include suggested forms of citation referencing that can be copied and pasted and may therefore be flagged. Okay, good question, Ms. Christelle. As mentioned, yeah, I would definitely recommend to include the list of references in a research work, because that would really deemed that the information that you have provided in your research is legitimate and well searched. And well, it's up to the instructor or you, the educator yourself. It's up to you to decide, or in your judgment, whether you think that one is acceptable or not. It would also be best to know that our students are actually doing their citations and references properly. So I believe that that is totally recommended. Okay. So, and there you have it. I think, okay, I hope that the session is beneficial for everybody. Okay, still I'm getting some question and answer. Okay, if the university varies similarity index, is it possible that we adjust the threshold for each university? Actually, it depends on the academic integrity policy that you may have in the institution. So, well, we can say that if this one is acceptable in the university, this percentage may not be acceptable as well in ours. So we cannot really do, or Turnitin cannot really do the recommendation of the adjustment. But if you do have concerns about that, what I can say is that you may refer that to your academic integrity committee, so that they will give you more information and maybe further understanding why the threshold in your university is of this percentage. Okay, I hope I answered your question, Sir Richmond. Thank you. Okay, so I'm not seeing questions anymore. Okay.
Yep.
So,
oh, good.
Yeah. Okay. So, well, thank you so much, everybody, and I hope that the session is beneficial as always. We are here, or in the Turnitin, we are here to provide you guidance on how will you be able to improve your workflow, as well as how you will be able to utilize the tool that we are providing. Okay. I hope that after this session, okay, you'll be able to make use of the suggested workflow as well as improve our formative learning tools that Turnitin is providing when it comes to similarity interpretation. Okay, so thank you so much, everyone, and I hope that you will enjoy the rest of your day and stay safe po sa ating lahat. Okay, so
Salamat po. Salamat. Stay safe.
thank you, everyone, and stay safe po.
Thank you.
Okay.